Hare Krishna. In this session we will discuss the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the first 16 slokas. In one session we can complete these first 16 slokas. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we have seen Krishna explaining transcendental knowledge, and the chapter ends with two beautiful slokas spoken by Krishna that kind of confused Arjuna. In the 41st sloka and 42nd sloka, 4th chapter, Krishna emphasizes on reaction-free work. Performing your duties with a spirit of detachment will keep you away from reactions of the work. That's what Krishna wanted to say. So the exact words that Krishna used were Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Jnana Sanchinna Samshayam Atmavantam na Karmani Nibadhananti Dhananjaya. This is the 41st sloka of 4th chapter. He says Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam. Sanyasta Karma means give up your activities, he said. Being fixed up in yoga. So what Krishna meant was Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam means give up fruitive activities. That's what Krishna meant. But Arjuna thought give up activities. Sanyasta Karmanam means karma sannyasa. So I have to give up my karma. So from Arjuna's perspective, at this stage, at the beginning of the 5th chapter, karma sannyasa is giving up work. But Krishna's perspective is karma sannyasa means having a spirit of sannyasa in your karmas. So it's not sannyasa of karma, it is sannyasa in karma. It's not renunciation of work, it is spirit of renunciation in work. Right? That's what Krishna is thinking. But Arjuna was a bit confused. You emphasize that I have to work, do this fight, and at the same time you also say give up work. So just reconcile and then just tell me one thing. He says, Krishna said in the 41st sloka, Yoga Sanyasta Karmanam Jnana Sanchinna Samshayam. One who renounces fruitive activities by Karma Yoga, Jnana Sanchinna Samshayam, whose doubts have been destroyed by knowledge, Atmavantam na karmani. For such a self-realized person, there is no karma, means there are no reactions for work. Okay. But apparently this sloka seems that Krishna is emphasizing that you should not work. You need not work at all. You should give up your activity. So then, but in this 42nd sloka, Krishna says, Tasmad Ajnana Sambhutam Hritstham Jnanashinatmanah Chitvainam Samshayam Yogam Atishta Uttishta Bharata. He says, my dear Arjuna, you get up and perform fight. 41st sloka, apparently it seems that he said, give up your karma. 42nd sloka, he said, you raise and fight. So Arjuna was a bit confused. So Arjuna, in the first sloka of 5th chapter, is saying like this. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam Cha Samshati Yatshreya Etayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sudhishchitam. Right? So this is the transition between the 4th chapter and the 5th chapter. The last two slokas of the 4th chapter were not properly understood by Arjuna, because apparently Krishna was emphasizing both on working and giving up work. But from Krishna's perspective, he meant you should maintain a spirit of detachment or renunciation in your work. If you perform work like that, you will not be incurring any sinful reactions. Right? So the words karma and yoga need to be understood in proper context. By the word yoga, Krishna meant karma yoga. And the word karma, Krishna sometimes means it is fruitive activity when he says give them up, and sometimes you will be free from karma. What Krishna means is you will be free from reactions of it. Let's analyze Arjuna's question now. The first shloka. Sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha samshati. Krishna, you emphasized on giving up karma. Sannyasa. The word sannyasa in this chapter generally refers to karma sannyasa. Okay, giving up your action. So next, yoga in this chapter specifically refers to karma yoga, which means performing your prescribed duties in a spirit of detachment. Okay, detachment from results. Okay, not feeling that I am the doer. Fine. So, and to be more specific, that yoga refers to nishkama karma yoga, not having any expectations of your own worth. Right? And the word yoga yukta or karma yogi in this chapter refers to a person who is performing karma yoga. He is called yoga yukta. And sometimes Krishna uses the word ayukta, ayogi. That refers to a person who is not performing karma yoga. Is it clear? These are the terminologies. Sannyasa means one who gives up work. Okay, sannyasa means giving up work, karma sannyasa in this context. And in some other context, sannyasa could also mean accepting the order of renunciation. Right? The symbols of renunciation like Tirudandi and Sikha and all that. But sannyasa means sometimes it is giving up your work. And sometimes sannyasa could also mean the spirit of renunciation in your work. Fine? We need to understand the word sannyasa in three contexts. In one context, sannyasa is giving up your work. In second context, sannyasa refers to the order of sannyasa where you accept the symbols of renunciation. In third context, sannyasa refers to maintaining a spirit of renunciation while working. Clear? But if one understands the purpose of this sannyasa, understands the essence of this sannyasa, all three words mean the same. All the external details may differ. So let's see. Here Arjuna says, Sannyasam karmanam Krishna, my dear Krishna, you are telling me to give up my work. But punar yogam to samshati, again you say you perform karma yoga, means perform your prescribed duties. Yet shreya etayor ekam, in between these two, which is the better thing? That you please tell me. Okay? Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Sunishchitam means for certain. So you should say that without any ambiguity, without any confusion. Right? You for certain you should say what is better for me. Okay? So what is more beneficial for me? Again, we understood that the question asked by Arjuna in this first shloka of 5th chapter is similar to what he has asked in the first 2 shlokas of the 3rd chapter. The 3rd chapter and 5th chapter more or less same. But in the 5th chapter, Krishna discusses this Nishkama Karma Yoga in greater detail, in a deeper manner. So Arjuna asked the same question: Sannyasa or Karma Yoga? These are the terminologies, the competition between these two. Right? So as I said, Krishna's perspective is detachment in your work with knowledge. And Arjuna thought that giving up the work itself. Fine. So what Krishna wants to emphasize here is not renunciation of work, but renounced spirit in your work. Fine. In this purport, Prabhupada writes, I just read these passages. Prabhupada gives a very nice connection between the previous few chapters and this chapter. So in the 2nd chapter of Gita, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material entanglement by Buddhi Yoga was also explained therein. And in the 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. So that is platform of Jnana Yoga. In the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. Means you perform karma yoga, at the end you will acquire knowledge. that we have discussed elaborately in our previous sessions. However, at the end of 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight. Be situated in perfect knowledge. So, but if the culmination of all your work is knowledge, and if you are already situated in knowledge, what is the need to work? Okay. So, and of course, to set an example, the person who is in perfect knowledge, who is qualified for Jnana Yoga also will work. But here, Krishna simultaneously apparently said that you do yoga, means karma yoga, and also you should adopt to sannyasa. Okay, giving up work. So Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyasa or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity. That's Arjuna's perspective. Because work and renunciation appear to him incompatible. How can I be renounced at the same time I am performing my work? But Krishna says, no, both are possible. You can have renunciation in your work. You need not renounce that work itself. Fine. So, work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. So that is inaction in action, which we discussed in the 4th chapter of Gita also. Now let's see the explanation given by Krishna. So you understood the question? The question of Arjuna is, my dear Krishna, you emphasized on sannyasa and karma yoga also. Just tell me for certain which is more beneficial for me, sannyasa or karma yoga. By this, what Arjuna meant was, sannyasa means renunciation of work, karma yoga means performing work. Fine. So now Krishna says, actually both are same in spirit. But what is more beneficial for you is karma yoga, not renunciation of work. Let's see. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sannyasah karma yogascha Nishreyasakara Budhau Tayostu karma sannyasa karma yogo visishyate. See, in clear terms Krishna is saying sannyasah karma yogascha. Two terminologies. The computation here is between these two. Sannyasa means renunciation of work. Karma yogascha means performing your work with detachment. Fine. Nishreyasakara ubhau. Both are beneficial. In the previous sloka, Arjuna says that yeta shreya etayor ekam. Yet shreya etayor ekam. Tanme bruhi sunishchitam. What is more beneficial? You tell me. You decide and tell me. Now Krishna says both are beneficial. Okay. Nishreya. For certain, both are beneficial. Sakara ubhau. But tayostu karma sannyasa karma yogo visishyate. But better than karma sannyasa is karma yoga. Karma sannyasa is giving up work. Karma yoga is engaging in your work with the spirit of detachment. So both are beneficial. Karma sannyasa and karma yoga both are beneficial for you. But karma yoga is better for you than karma sannyasa. Is it clear? Karma yoga involves working with detachment, and karma sannyasa involves giving up work itself.
Now in this karma sannyasa is giving up the work.
Giving up the work. Okay. Karma yoga is performing the work with spirit of detachment. Okay. Now in the purport, Prabhupada writes that fruitive activities are cause of material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies. So, performing fruitive activity is bad, but performing your prescribed activity is not bad. So, karma yoga involves doing action. That does not mean you are doing sinful activities or forbidden activities. Right? So one should not be averse to performing one's duties. One should only make sure that I should perform my duties with detachment, and I should perform my prescribed duties only, not those duties that are forbidden or that are not meant for myself. We discussed in our previous chapters elaborately on this point. So, Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha, Paradharmatma Drishtitaha, all that we discussed. So, there is a prescribed duty for everyone, so better stick to that prescribed duty and maintain a spirit of detachment. But fruitive activity is different. Fruitive activity means you perform actions purely out of your sense gratificatory desire that will entangle you. Right? So, and Prabhupada quotes from the teachings of Lord Rishabhadeva in this purport, 5th canto, 5th chapter, 4, 5 and 6 verses describe how because of performing fruitive activities and sense gratificatory activities, the conditioned soul is entangled in this material existence. That is described. So, Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti. So, Nunam pramattaha kurute vikarma. So, vikarma is condemned. Karma, which is fruitive activity, is condemned. But karma, that is prescribed activity, is not condemned. Okay. So, na sadhumanye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshata ashadeha. So, I won't be discussing the meanings of all these Bhagavatam verses. We will do it. We have already done it in our Bhagavatam classes. But here point is, performing sense gratificatory activities will prolong our entanglement in this material existence. And that is not Karma Yoga, by the way. Karma Yoga is performing prescribed activities, not just fruitive activities. So you can go through these 3 shlokas. Parabhavastavad bodhajato yavana jignasata atma tattvam. Without knowing your atma tattva, without having the knowledge of body and soul, as Krishna described in the 2nd chapter, 11th sloka till 30th sloka. So without having any spiritual knowledge and having a lot of attachment to sense gratification, if you just perform your fruitive activities, that will cause entanglement. But what Krishna is prescribing here repeatedly is performing duties with detachment. Okay. So, therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not the material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise there is no escape from material bondage. Here the important point is being made. Somebody may have jnana, means I am not body, I am soul. But then he said, okay, I am not body, I will not be engaging in any material activities. After all, I am not this material body. So I will abstain myself from all activities. That's not the conclusion. Once you understand that you are not material body and your spirit soul, you should inquire what are the activities of the spirit soul. And they are described in our scriptures. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoha, Smaranam. Basically, devotional service unto Krishna, Bhakti Yoga, is the prescribed activity for spirit soul. Is it not? So, having understood that you are not material body but spirit soul, next question is, you should understand what are the activities of spirit soul. There you have a lot of activity. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yatma suprasidati. Okay. So, the paro dharma, the supreme dharma of every spirit soul is bhakti yoga. That has to be done in an unmotivated manner and uninterrupted manner. So, we have to study that in Srimad Bhagavatam also. So, we need to understand that activity has to be done on the platform of spirit soul. Although you may do some activities on the material platform just to maintain the material body, but ultimately our activity is meant to be uplifting our soul. That is called Bhakti Yoga. That's why Bhakti Yoga is supreme. Okay, Karma Yoga may also involve some activities that for your maintenance of material body also, as far as your prescribed duties are concerned. Bhakti Yoga is activity on the spirit soul. And Prabhupada often equates this Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Okay, that's why his title is chapter also, Karma Yoga is action in Krishna consciousness. That is Bhakti Yoga. So in ultimate sense, Karma Yoga culminates in Bhakti Yoga. If you understand the ultimate meanings of what is the real karma or worth of the spirit soul, that is to perform devotional service. Then the Karma Yoga becomes Bhakti Yoga. That's the highest definition that Prabhupada often gives. One has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise there is no escape from material boundaries. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthens one's advancement in real knowledge. So these are few points from the purport. And as long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to the material platform. So Prabhupada makes another beautiful point by quoting this shloka. Prapanchikataya buddhya harisambandhi vastunah mukshubhir parityago vairagyam phalukathyate. So if you think that, oh, these are all material activities, these are all material objects, I will not interact with them, I will not work on this platform. But you need to also recognize that my interaction with these objects gives me an opportunity to engage those objects in Krishna's service. Harisambandhi vastunah. So, when there is a potential in engaging something in Krishna's service, a devotee will not give up that object. Fine. But if that same object is used for one's own sense gratification, that will be the cause of one's entanglement. But if that same material object is used for Krishna's service, then it is not an object of entanglement, it is an object of, it will help us to advance spiritually. For example, flower is there. Somebody will pick up the flower and smell and enjoy sense gratification. But that can be offered to Krishna and then you smell it. Okay, then that will have divine fragrance and one will make spiritual advancement by offering the flower to Krishna also. So one should not give a flower. Oh, this flower, by smelling this flower I am getting entangled and gratifying my senses, I will give them up. That's not the thing. That is Falgu Vairagya. So, renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. Okay. Renunciation in its complete sense is not just giving up things, but understanding who is the proprietor of all these things. It is Krishna who is the proprietor. Then you engage all those things in Krishna's service. Bhaktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheswaram. Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything. You engage all these objects, flowers, fruits, patram, prashna, kalam, tulim, whatever is there, you engage in Krishna's service, then you can come closer to Krishna. But if you say, oh, they will entangle me in material life, I will stay away from them. And I will not engage them in Krishna's service also. I will miss the opportunity to come closer to Krishna. Right? So one should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Then where is the question of renunciation? Prabhupada says, somebody may give up one's palace and enter the forest and he cannot be called renunciant. Because palace does not belong to him. The forest also does not belong to him. Just by changing his residence or geographical location from a palatial palace to a simple forest hermitage, small cottage in a forest, does not make him a renunciant. Renunciation is basically the spirit of renunciation. Okay? When a renounced spirit means I do not enjoy anything for my own sense gratification. I engage everything for Krishna's sense gratification. That gives me happiness. So then you are a perfect renunciant. Although you are handling a lot of money and manpower and resources and many things, still you are a perfect renunciant as long as you are engaging all of them in Krishna's service with perfect knowledge that you are not body, you are soul, and Krishna is the proprietor of everything. Right? The Prabhupada gives that such a brilliant explanation for this shloka. So the essence of this shloka is, Krishna says, Sannyasah karma yogascha nishreya sakara ubhau. Both karma sannyasa and karma yoga are beneficial. But karma yoga is better for you than karma sannyasa. Giving up work is not better, is not good for you. What is good for you is engaging in work with a spirit of detachment and offering things to the Supreme. That's what Krishna says, and Prabhupada gives the highest explanation of that sannyasa, the spirit of sannyasa. Third shloka. Dneyah sa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. Dneyah sa nitya sannyasi. Dneya means that which is supposed to be known. Okay. So, Neha Sanitya Sannyasi, please understand, please know that a constant sannyasi or a renunciant is a person who is Yo Nadveshti na Kankshati, one who does not hate anything nor desire anything. That anything actually refers to the fruits of his actions. He does not hate the results of the fruits of his actions. And he does not desire them also. He has equanimity in his mind. He is neutral. Such a person is sannyasi. Okay? Then he says, Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho. Nirdvandva means he is freed from all dualities of sukha, dukkha, lamentation, distress. So he is free from all dualities. Sukham bandhat pramuchyate. He can easily overcome bondage and attain liberation. Bandhat pramuchyate means can be liberated from bondage. Fine. So here we need to understand that Krishna is saying a karma yogi can also be a true sannyasi. Neyah sa nitya sannyasi. When a karma yogi is having this kind of spirit that is described in the third shloka, what is the spirit described here? Na dveshti na kankshati. You are not hating the desire, the results of your actions. Second, you are not desiring the results of your actions. Clear? There is no attachment to the results. There is no hatred for the results also. Right? Then you are a sannyasi. Now here in the second shloka, he said, no attachment to the results of action means he is performing actions. And Krishna says, Neyah sa nitya sannyasi. Understand, he is a sannyasi. So the description is given about karma yoga. So Yona Dveshti na Kankshati Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho. So these two lines are referring to a karma yogi. But in the first line Krishna says Gneyah sa nitya sannyasi. Understand that karma yogi to be a sannyasi. Is it clear to you? So if you perform karma yoga, means performing your actions with a spirit of renunciation, without any attachment to results or aversion to results, then you are as good as a sannyasi in spirit. You may not be in the renounced order. It's as good as giving up action. Okay? It's as good as karma sannyasa. Means karma sannyasa means giving up work. But here Krishna is emphasizing on if you give up the results of your work, you are as good as giving up work only. Because you have no attachment to the results of work. Okay? Whether you work or not, it doesn't matter to you, but still you work just because it's your duty to work and you are neutral and you want to set example to others. Okay. So one should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. So then where is the question of renunciation? Prabhupada says like this. So you cannot renounce anything in the true sense. Okay. Prabhupada writes that the concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality yet different in quality is correct transcendental knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. So Prabhupada emphasizes that to come to this stage of having no attachment and aversion to the results of your activities, you should also have the necessary knowledge that you are a spirit soul who is qualitatively equal to Krishna but quantitatively different from Krishna. First have a proper understanding of yourself. So I am a spirit soul. I am an Amsha or part of Krishna. Okay. And I am just staying in this material body for a temporary while. So whatever experiences that I encounter on an external plane because of having this material body, they are all temporary. I don't hate them and I don't love them. There is no love, there is no hatred. I am neutral. Because I have full understanding that I am a spirit soul. So that understanding is appreciated here. Fourth sloka. Sankhya Yoga Prathak Balah Pravadanti na Panditaha Ekam Apyasthitah Samyak Ubhayor Vindate Phalam Sankhya Yoga Prathak Balah Pravadanti na Panditaha. Now Krishna says Pandita means a learned person. Na Pandita means a person who is not learned person. Okay. So a learned person does not say that Sankhya Yoga is means basically Jnana. Is different from Karma Yoga. Fine. So Ekam api astitah samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. So only the ignorant people say that Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga are different. Sankhya Yoga is Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga is basically engaging in your prescribed duties. Okay. Ignorant people only will say that both are different, but learned people say both are same. We have a board. I wish to explain all these terminologies, how they are common, and so this board can come here. Or I should go here. That's better. And you also get that this one. Yeah, this is good. Hare Krishna. Okay. So there are multiple terminologies here. Hang on. In the third chapter and fourth and fifth chapters, so we have seen multiple terminologies till now. So of course we can add second chapter also. So let's reconcile all these terminologies. The essence of the first 6 chapters, especially second chapter till 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, is same. Krishna is making this one point that Karma Yoga is better for you. Although he is speaking about Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, but still ultimately Krishna's emphasis is you all should perform Karma Yoga only. Right? Arjuna should perform Karma Yoga only. Let's see what are the terminologies that Krishna has spoken till now. Karma. We have a better plan. Karma. The word karma can mean simply activity, okay, action. It could also mean fruitive action, okay, means you perform an activity specifically desiring for a result. It could also mean reaction for an action. Then it could also mean the whole system of actions and reactions. Fine? This is called karma. Now when Krishna says and mean, it should mean prescribed action. Okay? The many contexts it means prescribed action. Either it is simple meaning is action, sometimes it is fruitive action, sometimes it is prescribed action, sometimes it is reaction, sometimes it is the whole chain of actions and reactions. Right? Okay. Now Krishna also spoke about karma yoga. Okay. Karma yoga means linking with the Supreme. Fine? This is linking with the Supreme. And Karma Yoga means linking with the Supreme through your prescribed duties. Okay? Prescribed activities. Is it clear? This is called Karma Yoga. So, it also includes Nishkama. Nishkama Karma Yoga. So, when you say Karma Yoga, it's not so necessary that you say Nishkama, because you are working for the Supreme through your prescribed activities. Definitely you are not working for yourself. But to be very specific and precise, you say Nishkama means with detachment. I have no attachment to the results of my activities. So, I perform all my activities with a spirit of detachment and as an offering to the Supreme. That is called Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So these are the terminologies that Krishna has spoken till now. Fine? And the result of this Nishkama Karma Yoga is Jnana. Means, in the beginning stages of Nishkama Karma Yoga, means when you begin to practice this Karma Yoga, your knowledge may be little less. But as you are performing activities in Nishkama Karma Yoga, means with a spirit of detachment, means cultivating detachment as an offering to the Supreme, you are doing your prescribed activities. So your Jnana will increase day by day. Means you are developing transcendental knowledge. Okay? So that is Jnana. So the culmination of Nishkama Karma Yoga is Jnana. Right? Now other terminologies also Krishna used. Next is Jnana or Sankhya. Sankhya basically means analysis. Okay? Analysis here is analysis of matter and spirit. As Krishna has spoken in 2nd chapter, 11th sloka till 30th sloka, so this is all analysis of matter and spirit or body and soul. Body which is made of matter, soul is spiritual. Fine? So that is called Sankhya analysis. This can also be called Jnana. Right? In one sense. So basically this is knowledge. So Jnana is knowledge, Sankhya is analysis. So now you say, you both combine that. It is analytical knowledge of matter and spirit. So this is what Jnana or Sankhya means. Fine? And when you say Jnana Yoga, that means linking with the Supreme with your knowledge, with your analytical knowledge. Is it clear? So when we said Karma Yoga, it is linking with the Supreme by doing your prescribed activities with the spirit of detachment. Fine? When we say Jnana Yoga, it is again linking with the Supreme with knowledge. Fine? So by performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, at the end you will get Jnana. Fine? You will develop analytical knowledge of matter and spirit. Now if you are already having analytical knowledge of matter and spirit, you understand you are a soul, you are not the body, everything you understood, then you are qualified for Jnana. At this stage, you need not perform your prescribed activities. It is not necessary for you to engage in your prescribed duties. But still, to set an example, you may engage in your prescribed activities. Is it clear? Okay. Now, we need to go it smaller. So we saw karma yoga or Nishtama karma yoga. We saw jnana or sankhya or jnana yoga. Now jnana yoga, in jnana yoga, you are not performing prescribed activity. When you are fully qualified for jnana yoga, you are not performing prescribed activities. Fine. So that would mean sannyasa. Fine. So sannyasa means giving up activity. Is it clear? So thus jnana yoga or sankhya yoga, okay, or sannyasa. So these three mean the same. Okay, jnana yoga, sankhya yoga, sannyasa would basically mean you give up your prescribed activities because you are already having full analytical knowledge of matter and spirit. Is it clear? And you link with the Supreme with that knowledge and you do not perform any prescribed activities. But even at this stage, also somebody may perform prescribed activities to set an example. So when there is prescribed activity, then that is to set an example. Okay. So now coming back to this, karma yoga sometimes is in short it is called yoga. Okay, in some contexts. Now you still perform Nishtama karma yoga although you are qualified for jnana yoga. So many times Krishna presents this. You perform Nishtama karma yoga although you are on the platform of jnana yoga. Especially in the third chapter he said it. Now also he is saying it. Right? So we need to understand these terminologies are same. Same in the sense in spirit they are same. Renunciation is giving up prescribed activities. There is an assumption there that because you are qualified, you have jnana, you are giving up your prescribed activities. You don't have to purify yourself. By performing prescribed activities, you purify yourself. And then by performing those prescribed activities in a spirit of detachment as an offering to the Supreme, you will develop knowledge. Right? Analytical knowledge of matter and spirit. Spiritual knowledge. So, but if you are already purified and you already have knowledge, you already have detachment, you don't have to separately perform your prescribed activities. But still you may perform your prescribed activities to set an example for people. Right? So this is the essence of first, these third, fourth and fifth chapters. And jnana is especially described in the second chapter. Right? So ultimately the conclusion is you perform karma yoga. That's why Krishna is bringing. And one more thing, in the sixth chapter, Krishna speaks about dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga or Ashtanga yoga, both are same. Okay. Ashtanga yoga refers to there are 8 kinds of practices. Okay. So they are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. All these are 8 kinds of practices, of which meditation on the Supreme Lord is most important, and all the preliminary procedures, which is yama, niyama, do's and don'ts, pranayama, breathing exercises, pratyahara, controlling the mind and bringing it back wherever it goes. Okay, so all these preliminary procedures are ultimately meant to bring you to meditation on the Supreme Lord. That's why it is also directly called dhyana yoga. Right? So next 7th and 8th stages are dhyana and dharana. Dharana first and then dhyana later. So dharana is also dhyana only, but it is a generic meditation. But dhyana is a more specific and intensified meditation on every limb of the Lord's form. But for this, one should have a high level of mind control and sense control. Okay. So, and one has to have proper sitting postures, breathing exercises, and controlling the mind, etc., and then focusing on the Supreme. That is really difficult for an average spiritual seeker to perform. Right? So, Krishna says, okay, Dhyana Yoga is not practical for you, do Karma Yoga. Is it clear? He speaks Dhyana Yoga, he speaks Dhyana Yoga, and says these two are too much for you, better perform Karma Yoga. If you are qualified for Dhyana Yoga, you already have purification, detachment, and devotion to the Supreme. Still, to set an example, you perform Karma Yoga. And if you are not yet purified, better you perform your prescribed activities in the spirit of detachment, cultivate knowledge, and purify yourself. Okay? Because Dhyana Yoga is not practical for you, it's not very easy for an average person. but will perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. So like that from 6th chapter and 5th chapter, 4th chapter, 2nd chapter, so Krishna is, and 3rd chapter of course, Krishna is emphasizing on Karma Yoga. Is it clear? Any questions or comments based on this analysis? Fine, we'll resume from our sloka.
What is the difference between Sankhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga? What is the difference between the Sankhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga?
Sankhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. What is the difference between?
Sankhya is analysis, I just explained it. Sankhya means analysis of matter and spirit. Jnana is knowledge of matter and spirit. So if you analyze, you develop knowledge. So both are same. Okay. You can see the note in the page number 80 of Gita Subodhini. I had already mentioned all these terminologies. As Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Sannyasa, these three are more or less same. And Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, how are these two similar? So we understand that. Okay. We'll read 5th sloka also and then come back to this. 4th and 5th slokas we are deciding again. Sankhya Yoga Prathadvada Pravadanti na Pandita Ekam Apyatishta Samyak Ekamapyastitah samyak Ubhayor vindate phalam. So this Sankhya and Yoga. Sankhya refers to Jnana as we described. Yoga refers to Karma Yoga. So these two are same in spirit. Only ignorant people say they are different, but in spirit both are same. Ubhayor vindate phalam. By performing one you get the result of other also. Okay. Next in the 5th sloka Krishna says Yat Sankhyahi prapyate sthanam Tad yogair apiganjate Ekam Sankhyam cha yogam cha Yah pashyati sapashyati Yat Sankhyahi prapyate sthanam. The position that you attain by doing Sankhya or Jnana. Okay. Tad yogair apigamyate. By performing Karma Yoga also you can get it. You understand the terminology here. Here Sankhya is Jnana Yoga. Krishna is speaking about Jnana Yoga. And when he says Yoga, he is speaking about Karma Yoga. Okay. So what you attain by Karma Yoga, you attain by Jnana Yoga also. What you attain by Jnana Yoga, you attain by Karma Yoga also. Okay. That's what he says. Ekam Sankhyam cha Yogam cha. Both are same. Yaha pashyati sapashyati. The person who actually sees this Yoga and Sankhya means Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, both same, both are same, is a real seer. Okay. How are they same? We already discussed. Right? I'll summarize once again. Jnana Yoga or Sankhya Yoga or Karma Sannyasa involves developing knowledge, having analytical knowledge of matter and spirit, and giving up prescribed activities. Because you have already purified yourself by knowledge, you don't need to perform your prescribed actions and then purify yourself separately. Right? So that is what Jnana Yoga or Sankhya Yoga or Karma Sannyasa mean. And what about Nishkama Karma Yoga? Yoga or Karma Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. All three are same in this context. So it is that one performs one's prescribed activities, okay, and he, while performing prescribed activities, he acquires transcendental knowledge, and he performs those prescribed activities with due detachment. In the initial stages of Nishkama Karma Yoga, where you are a simple practitioner, your knowledge levels and detachment levels may be low, but by seriously performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, when you are a mature performer of Nishkama Karma Yoga, then you have full knowledge, you have full detachment, at the same time you are doing your prescribed activities. The only difference between this Sankhya, Jnana or Karma Sannyasa and Nishkama Karma Yoga is, in Nishkama Karma Yoga there is action, in Sankhya or Jnana or Karma Sannyasa there is no action. Okay? But both have knowledge, both have detachment, both are dedicated, trying to link with the Supreme only. I am speaking about the mature stages of Nishkama Karma Yoga, which are equivalent to Jnana Yoga. That's why in the yoga ladder, after Nishkama Karma Yoga, you enter Jnana Yoga, right? So, now this is the phase of Nishkama Karma Yoga. Initially, you are in the preliminary stages where your detachment and knowledge levels are low. But by performing Nishkama Karma Yoga at second stage, you mature in your knowledge and detachment. Then you are qualified for Jnana Yoga. Okay? But still you continue to perform your prescribed activities only to set an example for others. Is it clear? So that's how these two are same in spirit. In one there is an action, in the other there is no action. But that is called action in inaction. A Jnana Yogi is doing inaction, but still it's as good as doing action. And a Karma Yogi is doing action, it's as good as not doing action. Because he has no attachment to results. He has no desire to perform these fruitive activities. He has full detachment. He has knowledge. So although he is acting, it's as good as not acting. Although he is Karma Yogi, he is as good as a Karma Sannyasi. Okay? Because he is maintaining spirit of renunciation in work. Although he is not renouncing the work itself. So, Karma Sannyasa, in one sense, it is renunciation of work. But what Krishna is trying to emphasize is, Karma Sannyasa is renunciation in your work. And that kind of Karma Sannyasa is equivalent to Karma Yoga. Is it clear? In the first stage, this Karma Sannyasa, renunciation of work, is done by Jnana Yogis who have full knowledge. But when you are working, when you are doing your work also, you are having a spirit of renunciation and you have full knowledge. So you are as good as a Jnana Yogi, but you are performing karma. You are prescribed activities. Is it clear? All the terminologies are clear? Is there any ambiguity in this?
In this connection, that Krishna gave an example of Janaka Maharaj.
Janaka Maharaj in the same. Correct.
Yes,
In the previous chapters he has done it. So Krishna established the superiority of Jnana Yoga or over Karma Yoga. Because in the initial stages of Karma Yoga, you don't have full knowledge and detachment, and your work is on a material platform. Okay? So thus Jnana Yoga is ultimately superior. But when you are performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, and when you are a very mature practitioner of Nishkama Karma Yoga, you are as good as Jnana Yoga. Okay, Krishna established the superiority of Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga, but recommended Karma Yoga is more suitable for Arjuna's situation. However, in essence, the aim of both these yogas is Lord Vishnu. Ultimately, both are aiming at the same thing. Now, the second step in a ladder is lower than the third step. Right? But both the second step and third step are aiming for the last step of reaching your destination. In that sense, both are aiming at the same thing. And when you are crossing over the second step and entering the third step, okay, so the person who is on the third step and someone who is trying to come to the third step are more or less same, right? Because their aim is same. Fine. Any other questions or comments on this? So, because detachment from matter or sannyasa is complete only when one gets attachment to the spirit through Karma Yoga. Thus, both processes are the same in the sense that they aim for the same goal. Although superficially one involves detachment and other involves attachment. But Karma Yoga is more relevant for Arjuna's context. 6th sloka, Krishna continues. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum ayogataha yogayukto manirbrahma nachiredadhigacchati. Here Krishna says, Sanyasastu mahabaho dukkham aptum ayogataha. Mere renunciation is very difficult and very distressful also without performing Nishnam Karma Yoga. One cannot directly jump to Karma Sannyasa without doing Karma Yoga. Okay, I will give up all my prescribed activities. I will take sannyas. That is not possible. Earlier also Krishna said about the pretender and all that. Okay. Sannyasastu Mahabaho, O mighty Arjuna. Sannyasa is dukkhamaptum ayogataha. Ayogataha refers to a person who is not doing karma yoga. If you have not purified yourself by performing prescribed actions, then you are not qualified for sannyas. Okay. Yoga yukto munir brahma na achirena digacchati. On the other hand, a person who is yoga yukta, who is engaged in karma yoga, and he is a gnani also. Okay. And such a person can quickly attain the Supreme. Achirena adhigacchati. Very quickly he can attain the Supreme. Basically, he cannot prematurely transcend the necessity to perform your prescribed duties. One should perform prescribed duties, purify himself. Then, if he is complete in his renunciation and knowledge, then he can give up one's prescribed duties. But till then, one has to perform prescribed duties. That's the recommendation here. So, by performing Nishnama Karma, the Gnani purifies his heart and his Jnana becomes fixed. So, we completed 6 slokas. So, Prabhupada also writes about Mayavadi sannyasis and Vaishnava sannyasis in this purport. Now, in the next section, 7th to 16th slokas, I think should we take a break now?